So have I changed my opinion on where house prices are going in the future? Absolutely not. I do believe they're going to crash and come down. Update video on the housing market. So the first point to address, of course, is that housing prices pretty much globally right now are at all-time highs. In the United States, we're at an all-time high today. In the United Kingdom, we're at all-time highs, as well as many other Western nations. And this should be the first point of concern for you today. I know the media and a lot of other outlets are saying this is fantastic news. Ladies and gentlemen, this is great news. You should be so excited. Rush out and buy a house, buy a new home, buy an investment property, I know all this is coming out. This is actually the polar opposite of what you should do. And in fact, Benjamin Graham was one of the greatest investors and teachers of investing of all time. And of course, his protege is Warren Buffett, who many of you will know. And it's quite clear that when you have a peak in prices, all-time high of prices, there's really only one way that housing prices or any equity prices can go over the long run, and that is down. So have I changed my opinion on where house prices are going in the future? Absolutely not. I do believe they're going to crash and come down. Nothing has changed there. Only really the timeline on that has changed a little bit. You have to bear in mind that I made this original forecast in 2018. I updated it slightly in 2019, but we're about to come into 2021 now. And of course, the further ahead you forecast, the greater the room for error. So I would say that the forecast is still on point, but I may adjust the dates slightly as we go forward, because there's a lot of things that are actually pushing that date back in terms of when we will start to see housing prices declining. But I really want to get into the data today with you to actually show you what's happening now and where we are seeing some cities turning around, and not necessarily turning around yet in terms of downward pricing, but what we are seeing are these indicators that impact when house prices start to come down. And of course, the obvious ones that many of you will know are interest rates. They are historically low and they don't look to be increasing anytime soon. So interest rates will not help to push prices down, quite the opposite. They'll actually help to lift prices, and that is why we are seeing these large price rises combined with low inventory. Well, let's move on to the forbearance data now then, which is very key for this process. And this is from the Mortgage Bankers Association, and the headline is share of mortgage loans in forbearance decreases to 5.67%. I'm not sure why that's such a positive thing, because I think, and again, I want to just clarify something here. A lot of the media outlets, not saying this organization here, but a lot of the media outlets don't understand, they don't do the research on forbearance and what this actually means. So the decrease, I don't think is the way they're explaining it. And let me take a step back to actually go through this. Forbearance began on the 18th of March 2020, so this year. It is a 6-month initial period. So that takes you to the 18th of September 2020. That is what's known as phase 1, so period 1. Period 2, of course, then starts 18th September and goes through to March of 2021. What a lot of people don't realize is that forbearance, once you reach the end of that 6-month period, the lender will contact you and say, do you want to go into period 2, phase 2? If you don't respond, you don't automatically get enrolled into phase 2. Okay, that's quite crucial, very important data. And that is what I think is happening and why we're seeing this decrease rate to some extent. Of course, we're now seeing a lot more. So if we look at the stats and the data, only 25% of these mortgages that are in forbearance are in phase 1 now. 75% are now in phase 2. That is huge. This is nothing like what was expected. What was expected was people would go through phase 1, and as they got to the end of phase 1, they would drop out, they would make the payment, and that would be it. But no, 75% are now in phase 2. This is pretty serious business, because you've got to think of this like a wave. What's happened is like this now, and we're about to come, as we go to March 2021, to the end of phase 2. Now, you've got to do the logic here. Again, I don't understand why so many YouTubers are saying this at the end of March, people will pay the money and everything will be fine because they'll have their jobs back, etc. Let's just run through this logically. You at home, let's pretend that your mortgage payment is $1,000 and you've lost your job, so you're no longer able to work, so you can't continue to work, earn money to pay your $1,000. If you can't pay $1,000 now, how on earth are you going to pay $6,000 to $12,000 when your forbearance period ends in 6 to 12 months? How is that even possible? There's just no possible way. So what you could do potentially is refinance or try and get another better deal, something like that. But who's going to lend money to you if you haven't got a job? So again, people keep saying, again, mainly these California type of YouTubers and housing market guys, oh yeah, you can refinance, you can do this at the end. No, this is absolute nonsense. You are not going to be able to refinance at the end. It's not going to happen because you haven't got a job. There's no way that you can pay the money back. No one's going to lend money to you if you don't have a job. Sorry, I don't mean to sort of bash on people, but I don't understand why so many people keep saying this. So just to answer a question then, which a lot of people ask me, is that, Neil, what might happen next? What might the governments do to keep the house prices climbing and going up or from crashing? Well, we already talked about some of these initiatives before. One was, again, I'll give you an example of the UK. They cut out stamp duty. So there wasn't taxes which make purchasing a house more expensive. So the government got rid of this. That ends in March 2021. Do you notice how all of these sort of timelines align? It's quite interesting, isn't it? 10 p.m. curfews, March 2021, September 2020. They all sort of align in all these different countries. So and again, I won't say too much on that. I'll leave you to do your own investigations. But what I think will happen when this stamp duty ends in March 2021, we are going to be seeing some changes in the housing market because there aren't going to be as many transactions, especially for the UK in particular. There won't be as many transactions, and also in the USA there won't be as many transactions as more people start to lose their jobs. Again, we're going to keep going into this spiral. Employment, unemployment leads to more unemployment. It just keeps going down and down and down. So again, I touched on the Biden plan, the housing market plan, and I think what some of these things that are being proposed will come into effect. They already came into effect in the UK. In my personal humble opinion, they didn't work.